Welcome back to another video on this channel. Today we're going to be talking about RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 8 and what if the season had the top 2 format. I did this for fun on paper and it went different than in the lip sync assassin format, so let's get into it. On the first episode of the season we had the girl group challenge and the runway challenge in the beginning of the episode. Originally Kahana won this challenge and I absolutely agree with that because she was clearly the standout. LaLaRi and Alexis Michelle were high, which I also agree with, but it was clear to me that Alexis Michelle was second, so she's going to be in the top 2 with Kahana. Lala's verse was amazing, but one of his looks was one of, if not the weakest look from the whole episode. In the bottom we had Monica, who definitely struggled in the challenge, and her verse was not the best, but at least iconic. Darienne Lake was also in the bottom, but I decided to put her low, as her verse was pretty strong, and to be honest, I would say one of my favorites. I also wasn't a huge fan of her Billie Eilish look, but it wasn't that bad. The person who clearly should have been in the bottom is James Mansfield. I liked her verse, but she did worse than Darienne in the choreo, and that's why she's there. So Kahana and Alexis are gonna lip sync, and I mean, Kahana is winning the lip sync hands down. It was really close when she lip synced against Aja, and Alexis wouldn't beat her. Since we have James in the bottom over Darienne, I didn't know how it would go, but I think Kahana would still choose Monica's lipstick. Both James and Monica were the early outs on their original seasons, but at least Monica wasn't the pork chop, and sending James home first again would be evil. So I don't think Kahana would do that. It's time for the episode 2, the acting challenge. I decided to put 4 people in the top, instead of 3, as I think they all deserve it. Kasha's performance was great, but her runway was the worst of the night, which is so unfortunate, because she could have been in the top 2. Jimbo originally won the challenge, and I agree with that. The second person in the top 2 is going to be James, as her runway look was stronger than Heidi's. I don't know if you noticed, but on this season week after week 4 queens were in the top and 2 in the bottom, but no one was low, which was strange, so I changed it. I chose LaLaRi to be low here, but the obvious bottom 2 were Naysha Lopez and Kahana Montrese. I was sad as it was so obvious that Naysha is going home, because Kahana just won the week prior. I wanted both Naysha and Monica to go far this season, but it is what it is. The episode 3 was the design challenge and Jessica won, which I completely disagree with. I love Jessica, but she did a safe job this episode. And 2 of safe queens should have been in the top 2. I'm talking about Kahana and Heidi. Heidi was the clear winner, so putting her safe was a choice. I loved every single look she presented that night. Kahana, on the other hand, surprised me. I wasn't expecting her to do as well as she did. Her banana look was one of the best looks of the season, and the outfit she made was also really chic and well made. Jimbo also had a strong night, so she's gonna stay high. I agree with the bottom 2 of Kasha and Darienne, and in the low placement I decided to put Alexis. So Heidi and Kahana are gonna lip sync, and I think this is Heidi's night. Originally Kasha went home this episode, but here we have to say goodbye to Darienne Lake because Heidi was going by track record. So the next episode, Screen Queens, was the one judged in groups. I decided to still judge them in groups, and that's why Heidi and LaLaRi ended up just safe because unfortunately Kahana dragged them down a bit, but also Jimbo, Candy, and Jessica were clearly the strongest team overall. In the top 2 I decided to put Jessica and Jimbo, as I wasn't a fan of Candy's runway that week. In the bottom 3 this time, we have Kasha, Alexis, and James. In this scenario, it would be between Kasha and James. Both of them are in the bottom for the second time, but James has a win, so I think Jessica would win the lip sync and then send Kasha packing. Episode 5, the Snatch Game. I didn't know what to do, because Heidi quits in this episode. In this timeline, she at least has a win, but I decided not to change that because this drama would probably still happen and she just wasn't in the right headspace to compete on All Stars. So Heidi quits, which means no one else is going home. We have the same bottom 2 of Jessica and Kahana, and in the top 2 we have obviously Jimbo, and the second spot I decided to give to Alexis. It was close between her and James, but I liked Alexis's performance a bit more. Here I think Alexis would win the lip sync, but it doesn't really matter, as the bottom two queens are saved. Episode 6 was the Rusical, and I decided to change some placements. It's obvious that Candy and Lala were the best, so they're gonna lip sync. Jessica Wilde was high originally, which I completely agree with, so I didn't change that. Kahana was originally in the bottom, which I don't agree with. She definitely did better than Jimbo. Jimbo's choreography was much easier, and it was obvious production didn't want her to fall into the bottom. I unfortunately agree with James's position, and I think she would still go home. I know Candy wanted Jimbo gone, but after this drama, as we saw, she changed her mind, so James is still gonna go home here, which is sad, because I wanted to see more of her. So, the next episode was another acting challenge, which was Kahana's nightmare. I don't think she did that bad, though. Her performance wasn't terrible, and I think Candy is the one who should have been in the bottom. Lala Ree and Jessica destroyed this challenge, so they're in the top two without a doubt. Lala did such a great job in the lip sync, so I decided to give him the win. I don't know what would have happened in this situation because Alexis Michelle has 2 wins, and this is her second time in the bottom, and Candy has 1 win, but this is her first time in the bottom. I think Alexis would be eliminated here, because Candy was Lala's season 13 sister, and sending Alexis home would be justified. So we have our top 5 of Jimbo, Lala, Candy, Kahana, and Jessica. It's time for the second design challenge of the season. Originally, Alexis won it, but she's not there, so in the top 2 I decided to put Jimbo and Kahana. Jimbo's runway look was really cool and different, and as we saw earlier in the season, Kahana's sewing skills are good, so I think she would be fine and do better than Jessica. The bottom 2 is quite obvious because Candy and Lala were clearly the weakest in the challenge. Originally, Lala went home, but in this scenario they don't have the same track record, and Kahana would probably send Candy Muse home because it was Lala's first time in the bottom, while Candy was there for the second time. The next episode was the roast, and here we have Lala Ree and Kahana over Candy and Alexis. Jimbo and Jessica destroyed this challenge, and there's no way Kahana or Lala would do better than them, so we have our top 2 and bottom 2. We all saw this was Jimbo's time to finally win the lip sync. Throughout the season she was going by track record, so I think she would choose Lala's lipstick because it was her second time in the bottom, but she had only 1 win. This would be Kahana's 3rd time in the bottom, but she also had 3 wins, so I think Jimbo might keep her. I don't know, it could really go either way. In this season we only had 2 queens in the finale, and I decided not to change that. So as you can see, we have 1 person winning, and then this person has to choose the second finalist. In the makeover challenge, Jessica and Jimbo were struggling a bit, so I think Kahana would do better than them and snatch her 4th win. Her runway package this season was amazing and her makeup skills are also great, so she would probably win this. I have no idea what she would do, but she's a smart girl, so I think she would get rid of Jimbo, who originally won the season. It's so obvious if Jimbo is in the finale, she's winning the season, so I think Kahana would take the opportunity and eliminate her right before the finale. I honestly would live for that. Before the finale, we also have to choose the Queen of the Fame Games. So, the eliminated queen participated in the variety show, and then the top 2 had to lip sync. The winner of the lip sync had the chance to multiply their votes, which pretty much meant that the winner of this episode is also winning the Fame Games. In this scenario, I think Lala Ree and Jimbo had the best performances, and in the high placement I decided to put Darienne Lake and James Mansfield. I think Lala and Jimbo would still kinda help each other during the lip sync, so I decided to give them both the win. Originally, Lala had her votes multiplied by 3 and James by 2, so I think Jimbo's votes would also be multiplied by 2. That means the Queen of the Fame Games is Lala Ree. If I had to choose based on the runways only, I would give it to Darienne Lake or Jimbo. Now it's time to reveal the winner of the season. I think it would be neck and neck because both of them deserves it, but it can only be one queen. The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 8 is Jessica Wilde. It was really close, but I chose Jessica because she might have less wins, but she was also in the top a lot when Kahana was in the bottom like 3 times and also low twice. Congratulations to Jessica. And that's it. Do you agree with the changes I made? What do you think would happen if RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 8 had the top 2 format? Let me know in the comments.